Okay, sorry. I think my microphone was on mute. I didn't see it. Anyway, welcome back to another week. I hope you're doing well. Today I was a little bit tied up, so that's why I started at 1:30. But it seems when I started, my microphone was off, so you couldn't hear me. But anyway, let's start with the dollar index as usual. Last week we had a weekly close below the previous week low. So this week we are expecting this low to be taken, and then maybe let's look inside somewhere in here to see if there's any daily gap that price can reach for. So I think we might have something over here. We do have this one, which is a volume imbalance. Okay, we have that one as a volume imbalance, and then that volume imbalance, and then this gap. So let's see where we at. Have we touched it? No, not yet. So that's pretty much where price is gonna reach for between today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. So 97.471 to 97.385. That's the downside objective for the dollar index. So we're expecting lower prices, and I think overnight we pulled back into the New York session gap here, and we've seen that rejection so far. I think this happened over Asia, so that's not high. It's not high probability enough. However, it can cause a bounce. Okay, let me do this properly. It can cause a bounce and probably come back to the London session gap before we continue going down. So just be mindful of buying the euro or the pound now. Maybe a pullback into this high and then down. That'll be the best option going forward. Or during the purple time, they displace down, pull back into it, and then you can look for the continuation to the downside. Okay, so that is that for the dollar index. But the downside objective, as I mentioned, let me take this one off, is these two levels. Okay, so when you're buying the foreign currencies, the euro and the pound, once the dollar index hits this level, make sure you take some of your profit off, because price can bounce off from it, and when it bounces, I don't know how high it's gonna go. Okay, so moving on, that means euro will also potentially move higher, and you can see similar. We had this New York session gap, price pulled back into it, and then it displays to the upside. So we have high, and the 1.16437 level, that is still the upside objective. So again, this New York session, I think I like this gap here for the euro. I want price to dip into that and then expand higher. We might be going for this high, that high, and then the 1.16437 level. Okay, so what I'll do, price dips in here, the down candle, if there's a down candle that leads to price dipping here, you want to wait for them to close above it, then buy the pullback to it to go up. Or when they dip into it, price moves, leaves the fair value gap, then you buy that. Okay, that'll be the safest option. There's another gap here in case that one fails, then you can use this one. So there's two gaps, one up here and then one down here. GU, same thing. We have the gap down here. It's currently trading inside this, but I think I like the first one, this one here. So you want to watch that. Again, same pattern. You want price to hit it, reject, then buy the rejection. Don't buy the gap as it is, because today is Monday. If today was, let's say, a Wednesday, then I'll just buy the gap, but today is Monday. Price action is not most of the time. It's a little bit not trustworthy, but if we get a reaction off from it, then we know that, you know, someone is in the market. Then you can go ahead and basically look for the buy. The dollar yen, that's exactly where I wanted them to trade back to over the week as a pullback level, and then we start going down. So like I mentioned last week, we had a previous week raid. Okay, so with that previous week raid, we will be coming for this low. So this is high probability for this week for price to go down. So we are looking for a continuation to the downside on the dollar yen. Preferably if they can come back to this level again, that would be good. If not, then again wait for a gap to form, or for them to close below an up candle like this, then you look for the sell to continue going down. Okay, next on the list is gold. So gold, we are still aiming for 3,005, and again the week has started. We're trading down first, which is perfect scenario for a potential buy for the week. So between tomorrow and Wednesday, hopefully today will close like this, and then that will leave a gap. Then tomorrow price will dip into that and then reject. So you're going to be looking for a previous day's low rejection, price shifting on the hourly or even on the M15 or H4, whichever one is clear. But keyword here is it needs to happen during the kill zone. That shift needs to happen during the kill zone. So once we get price to dip into the gap, wait for a kill zone, London, New York, for the shift to happen, then you can look for the buy on gold. I like this because we open and then we are trading down first. That's a perfect market symmetry for the weekly profile. So all good on gold for a potential buy this week. Now, it does not mean it might form the low here. We just want them to form the low. So if tomorrow does not respect this, it might probably continue and come to this one and then form the low. Okay, whichever way, we are waiting patiently for it. Okay, next up, crude oil. So crude oil, I don't know what it's trying to do here. Obviously we had that big rally into that order block on the weekly, and then I mentioned that we might get a rejection off from it, but looking at how last week closed, ideally we still be looking for a long, but this high to this low, that is the last range on the monthly time frame. Okay, that's the last range on the monthly time frame. So it's going to be tricky for crude oil this week. Hence, I would probably day trade or scalp it only. I'll not be looking for, let's say, price is gonna go here or there. I'll trade it based on what I see on the H4 and then the H1 during the kill zone, because I don't know what it's trying to do with all these big moves and the gaps. All right, hence I'll wait for New York session and then see what price wants to do, then I'll take it from there. Okay, because I don't know whether it wants to come back down, whether it wants to go up. Right now it's in the I don't know territory, and sometimes you have to admit you don't know, and this is what I'm seeing here right now. I don't know what it's trying to do. Okay, this candle here, not expected, because I was expecting them to reject this high and then come back down, but they screamed like I haven't seen a candle like that in crude oil for a very, very long time, apart from this big down candle. Okay, and also the month hasn't ended yet for me to use this imbalance as a potential reversal. The month hasn't ended yet, so we can still come back down below it, and I don't know. So we take it session by session. So during the New York session, based on how price will behave during this New York session, probably might give us an idea of what price wants to do going forward. So patience with the crude oil. ES, so last week again, expecting them to go down after we broke down here, but they've come back above it. Now this, in my opinion, is destroying a lot of sellers in the market, because from the weekly perspective, we've kept taking out previous week's highs for the last more than 4 weeks. So starting with May 12th, took our previous week high, supposed to come for previous week low, that didn't happen, came for previous week high again, rejected, supposed to come for previous week low, that didn't happen, went up, took our previous week high again, supposed to come for previous week low, that didn't happen. Last week previous week high taken, this week low needs to be taken, that's not happening, and they've gone for the high again. So this is, I think, compression, right? It keeps going higher, but it's not expanding. Okay, it's not expanding, right? If they were to go up, once we take out the high, it needs to expand like crude oil did over here, right? It needs to expand aggressively above the high. So if it keeps taking out the high and rejecting, that's something else. That's totally something else. So with what price is currently doing, taking out this week high, last week high, we might be in for maybe a rejection later today. I don't know, but that's what I'm feeling, because we are still trading inside this gap here, and that's the last gap. Okay, inside all these move down. So just watch this New York session, and then let's see how price is gonna behave. Do we break down, or do we scream higher? Okay, I am for a breakdown, because on the 3 months time frame, we took out a previous 3 months high and then rejected. So we had a previous week raid with a break of structure, pulling back to this gap here. And also, if you look at how the gap is, this candle rejected it, this candle rejected it, and now they've come back up again. So not until this candle closes above it, then we will be looking for a continuation to break this new all-time high and continue going up. But looking at how so far all of this has been rejecting, I'm suspecting that we might reject, especially with this week where we've opened and then price has gone up first. Okay, we've opened and price has gone up first, so I'm suspecting a potential rejection above last week high 6074. Okay, I'm suspecting that. So on the hourly, okay, you can look out for a potential fair value gap that will form, and then you can start looking for a rejection, okay, because they've then gone up for the beginning of the week instead of down and then up. They've gone up, so we want to see them reject. So that's that for ES. Now let's move on to cryptos. Today is Monday, so I'm just let's take it slow for the beginning of the week. Okay, AI16Z, I think we came back to OTE, and I made mention that if you did miss buying, it's now come to the best level for the buy to happen. So from here, I would want to see them start screaming up. So this range high to this range low, I want to see them like trade through this imbalance, through that, and then break structure. On the daily, the RSI, we are showing some form of a divergence, right? This low, actually it's on the H4, I think, yeah. So we've come here, and if you look closely, we made a lower low, and then I don't usually use it, but when it's there, you need to reference it, right? This made a higher low, and we've traded into a range discount. So I use the RSI when we are inside a range to find a divergence. So if we have a range like this and we come up in here for expecting price to go down inside this and that, if you put your RSI, if you see your RSI making this one higher than this one, lower, that's a divergence, and all you need to see is a big rejection, then you're in for a sell to come back down here. So that's the only time I use the RSI. I don't use the RSI for anything else. So that's why I showed you, because this low, and that low, that's potentially this rejection, that rejection, and then now here inside the fair value gap. So I want to see price start moving higher. Okay, and so far so good. We are starting to move higher. Solana, same thing. I think they took out the low, rejected. So we want to see a continuation to the upside. Bitcoin, same thing. We came into that gap, rejected. Now, I think last week I mentioned that since they were able to close through this might now become some form of a barrier. So for price to resume going higher, we need price to trade through that high, which is this candle's low, which comes in at 108,241. We need price to close above it. Once we do, we'll be aiming for the all-time high, and then we continue going into where we identified for almost 2 to 3 weeks ago. Okay, Ethereum, same thing. This high, this low, break, pull back. So we're expecting a continuation to the upside. Okay, maybe today's closure will be very, very important, because it might be closing through again another gap over here, and that might potentially be an area where they will form another up candle that will also leave a gap, and then we are good to go to continue going higher. Hype, best pair, screaming higher back to the 46. I think it rejected the imbalance, and so far I think it's the strongest among all, where we didn't even close below the gap. Right, so that was a very powerful thing. Now with what has happened, 46 will definitely be the next target, and yeah, we can go beyond that, but for now let's use that as our target. Maybe they might reach it today, if not tomorrow. So if you do trade them, you can look for an entry to continue going up. XRP, same thing. I think XRP is also doing well. What we need is a close above the imbalance. So today, a close above the 2.2524 level. A close above it will send us back in here. Okay, so a close above it will send us back into this fair value gap. Patience, and then you'll see. I think it's the beginning of the week, hence we might get price to close above the down candle, and then that will be potentially an order block for future reference. And then finally Chachki, after the big two candles screaming higher, it looks like we might probably come back into the gap before resume going higher, or we might reject the previous day's low and then start screaming higher. Our next draw on liquidity will be last week high, and then somewhere in here, I think somewhere in there, there's a gap on the H4 there. Okay, so that will be the next. Once we reject, we found the low of the week, because last week closed bullish. Okay, so we want this week to also start screaming higher. I like the fact that it's the first candle is an up candle. Usually, I think I've taught this here, if the first candle when price is going down is an up candle, you might see a continuation of series of up candles going up. So I'll be expecting an up candle from here, possibly form the low and then expand higher. All right, so that's pretty much it for now. All eyes on this pair here, because I think something might happen. So this New York session, watch it. Do we aggressively drop? If we do, especially for scalping on the 15 minutes time frame, you can start looking for potential fair value gaps to form, and you can trade it. Okay, let them trade through this breakdown, and that might leave a gap. Then maybe they might come and fill this opening gap, and you can take a sell to fill that, and then that'll be it for the day. Then how we close for the day, that will give us an idea of how to proceed going forward for the rest of the week. All right, so that's pretty much it from me for today. I appreciate all of you for tuning in. I'll see you same time. A couple of announcements before. So next week, when is it? Next week Friday, next week Friday, which is 27th. Yeah, next week Friday 27th and Monday 30th of June. Over that weekend, I'm going away with the family. I've not taken any holiday in about almost years. Can't remember the last time I went on holidays, but this is a mini holiday. My main holiday comes in September, where I'll be traveling for almost 3 weeks, or something like that. That'll be in September, but this one is just a mini holiday break for myself to recalibrate, to restore a lot of energy that I've poured out from the beginning of the year. So next week, Friday 27th and 30th of June, which is the Monday, I will not be here. There will be no live session. Okay, I will not be doing any live session. And then I think that Monday 23rd is my son's sports day, so maybe I might do the session earlier on that Monday. Instead of the usual 1 o'clock, it might be 12 o'clock, because I have to go to his sports day. I think it starts at 1, so I can do 12 o'clock to half 12, and then I can go and watch my son's sports day. So take note of these dates, and then so that's it. I'll see you all same time tomorrow. Until then, peace.